Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co., and this is News and Week in Review, where we're going to dive into a variety of news pieces. The topic of the week, there's not really a topic, actually. Topics went away a long time ago, but rather, it's not even the BGG hotness, which is what we've been doing recently. Rather, I'm going to talk about the top 10 Gencon games that I missed, that I did not come home with, that I was hoping to come home with, but didn't, because there were 10 of them. Well, there are more than 10. These are the top 10. That's the way top 10 lists work. If it's only 10 things totally, then it's just 10. Not the top 10. Well, I guess arguably it's still the top. Never mind, we're going to go ahead and move forward to this. Anyway, so yeah, it's going to be all those things, as well as the schedule of the week, the games I played, all of that stuff and more. And let's go ahead and dive into it. Links and timestamps to everything down below. Let's start off with news. News starting off over here, we have well, first of all, we have menu music for video gamers for games that don't exist. This is a playlist from ONEB, Orange Nebula. They've done a playlist of menu music for video games that don't exist. And it's pleasant and surprising, and I like it. So I'll link to that down below in case you want some random menu music for video games that don't exist. Anyways, we also have over here, we have Disney's Donald Duck. No. They got caught by the, no, I don't want, stop it, Maestro Media. We have Disney's Donald Duck and Happy Camper pre-order. This is a game coming from I believe, Daryl Andrews and Wolfgang Kramer. This is going to be Donald Duck's in Happy Camper. You can check this out over here. It's a new game from Maestro Media. Also considering the designers and names involved, I hope it's good. Well, Maestro Media is a fascinating company because they do a lot of mass market things, which is nothing wrong with that. It's a good way to bring people into the hobby. But they've also been doing a lot more things that border or bridge that gap over there. So we'll see how this one goes. Also, I forgot to say it, but the new couch is here. We'll be tweaking with the shot in various videos as we go. We'll be adding lights and fun things to make this more dynamic and more interesting, and I don't know, just words and things. But the new couch, it's very comfy, by the way. Also, thanks to Joey from my community over here. Joey, a good friend who lives locally, who helped me move it down here. Because if not for him, I wouldn't have a new couch in the basement right now. The studio sounds more professional. We also have over here a lot of luck and many contexts. This is an article on Board Game Wire, a great article. I highly recommend checking it out, especially if you're someone in the industry. But it's basically talking about how Treacer managed to get the license for Zoo Tycoon. Licensing is a fascinating thing in the board game space. The nature of how you have, very often you have larger established companies who manage to get those licenses, the CMONs, the Steamforge, and all that. But then you also have a lot of times you have small companies, like, Slay the Spire or Treacer, where you have a small company managing to really land a very large license. And I think those are very inspiring things because to many people in the board game space, it's easy to look at someone like CMON and be like, well, I'm not CMON, so how can I possibly get the license for that really cool thing I want to get the license for? But this is one of those stories and talks a bit about how he went through that process, or they went through that process, to get the license for Zoo Tycoon. We also have an apology over here. This is an apology and an update. Well, no, sorry. This is more of an update, a minor apology, but they're going to have a more apology and update. But this is my CMON promos video. I did a video of the CMON promos and CMON comics and, oh, come on, the CMON promos, CMON comics, and all those things. I was just going over the various promos, and also in that video I talked about the nature of how I do think convention-exclusive promos or limited promos, I think they're not great, and they really are kind of riling up the community, and it's not really doing CMON a service over here, it's creating just more upsetness. They did reach out, well, to be more specific, I reached out before the video to clarify. That's why it's a minor apology too, but it's also an update. I've already pinned an update on this video, but I want to make sure that those who don't see a pinned update in a video you watched 2 weeks ago, I want to make sure you see that as well. But this basically, I reached out before the video to ask them what their plans were for their promos. And they talked about how, here's what the current availability was, but they had hopes and were trying to make them more available. But they reached out past the video and said, well, what's more that we're going to, they are going to be available. I mean, not just that we're trying, because I went with the best news that I had as much as possible. If I missed the mark, I apologize, but I posted an update on the video. Basically, they updated that. They said, this is you can check the update on the video, they said these are not going to be limited to these conventions alone. They don't plan on being limited at all. They are exploring the ways to make these promos more available, but they kind of it sounds like, again, this is me passing on the message they gave me, it sounds like they will be available, that they have heard the community, or, well, I should be more clear. Either they already planned for it to be available, or they heard the community, and whichever one it is, at the end of the day, they are saying it will be available in one form or another. I don't know what that one form or another will take, but nonetheless, it's a relevant update, especially before you spend $200 on eBay on that one random promo for a game that you're not playing enough anyways. That was me being judgmental of you. I'm sorry. That was unnecessary. Moving on over here. Moving on, we have the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of Second Era Unboxing and Rambling. This one's much more of an apology, but I guess the damage is less prevalent, but nonetheless, I did an unboxing of Elder Scrolls Betrayal of Second Era. I've also since played Elder Scrolls. It's still good. Anyways, In the unboxing, I proceed to open up and read the first piece of paper that they have where they say, please read this first. And I skim the first 3 words and then, well, I skimmed more than that. I skim it and immediately throw it off to the side. I get a lot of entertained people who are like, hey, Alex, you just said read this first and then you throw it off to the side. That's not a problem in and of itself. I like to, I don't know, I'm not going to read a full piece of paper on camera, although maybe in the future I will. And I like to be a little loosey-goosey and not worry too much about things. Except for the problem is, then in the video, later on in the video, I'm like, hey, what's it called? Chip Theory Games, why are you putting your double-sided playmats? This seems illogical. They're the same on both sides. Why would you do that? And I'm not actually upset. I'm just being tongue-in-cheek and rambling and doing all that. But nonetheless, I kind of like, why would you do this? And turns out the piece of paper that they included that they said, read this first, says this pre-production copy has a few mistakes, and one of the mistakes is the thing that you're telling us we should do differently. So I look like an idiot. Also, apologies to Chip Theory Games. Again, I don't think it was bad press in any typical sense, but nonetheless, apologies to Chip Theory Games, and apologies to anyone who would like me to take some things more seriously. I will say that both things are true. I don't plan on taking everything more seriously in life. I do enjoy, I don't know, being me. I enjoy being me. But I also think that sometimes you have a responsibility to not mess up, and maybe I will read the pieces of papers that say, read this first going forward. So apologies to Chip Theory, and update to you. Speaking of Chip Theory, they have Cloudspire Harbinger. They have the new Harbinger. Not Harbinger, Harbinger. Or is it Harbinger? Harbinger. Cloudspire, an expansion from Chip Theory Games, will be launching on GameFound at some point. I don't know more information here. They just announced this over here. They have it as something to do with Cloudspire. More Cloudspire. More stuff. We have the Akil expansion and the Graft expansion. All easier words than saying Harbinger or Harbinger. I don't know which. I should know that. I should know a lot of words, but I don't know a lot of words. Well, I do know a lot of words, but I also don't know a lot of words. There are a lot of words I don't know. That's the correct way of saying that, probably. Anyways, that's Cloudspire over here, coming from Chip Theory Games, launching at some point soon. We also have big news from Gencon over here. Lord of the Rings, the Competition Ultimate Edition, will be launching on GameFound as well. This is a redone version of Reign of Knizia, coming to you from Ghost Galaxy Games, who have previously, until now, just done the game that's Keyforge. That's the one. They've done Keyforge. They've done a lot of Keyforge, and now they're doing Lord of the Rings, the Competition. So I guess they picked up some licenses over here. This is a classic game, an excellent game, and they are bringing it back with a very deluxe version. How much information do we have on the page? Let's see. Not a lot of information on the page, but there'll be more information at some point if you want to check that out. And then we have over here, we have Gencon. We have Gencon celebrates record attendance over here. Gencon sold out before the event started, which is, I think, the first time they've ever done that. So it sets record attendance for the event, sells out for the first time in history. I believe they've sold out mid-convention at times, but this is the first time they've sold out, before the convention even began. I know people who showed up hoping to buy badges and were like, well, we drove 5 hours. We didn't realize we wouldn't have the option of buying a badge like we have in the past, and that's unfortunate. Genuinely, it's very unfortunate for that to happen, but good for Gen Con. I'm glad they sold out. I'm not glad they sold out. I'm glad they're doing well. I'm glad the hobby is a growing space. I'm not inherently glad they sold out. I'm glad of the other things that it means by the fact that they sold out. And then lastly over here, speaking of Gen Con, another article, and that's an article from Board Game Wire, but another article from Board Game Wire over here. They basically did an interview with a bunch of various booths, from Lucky Duck to... Lucky Duck was the first one. From Lucky Duck to Ares to Incredible Dream to Asmata Games. They basically went to a lot of people who have run booths at Gen Con and just asked them for their thoughts, their notes, what they liked, didn't like, what could have been done differently, better. They talked about all of that. I think it's a fascinating article to read just to get that kind of on-the-ground look from people running booths at Gen Con. And that's what we have for our news this week. There's probably a lot more news, honestly. There's a lot of news out of Gen Con. I will be doing a dedicated video this week about... I'll be doing a dedicated video this week about titles that I'm excited about because of having played or seen it at Gen Con. So you can check that out as well if you want more Gen Con specific news. But with that, let's go ahead and dive into the top 10 games that I missed out on at Gen Con. I was going to do a dedicated video for this, but honestly, a lot of these are games I kind of covered in my pre-Gen Con coverage. So I was like, you know what? This will be wrapped into a week in review. I'll be talking specifically about 10 games that I wanted to come home with and didn't. I'll be getting some of these games for sure in one way or another, and others I don't yet know. Because in general, whenever I I don't get a game, sometimes I know I want it. Like some of these games I've actually played and I know I want them. Others I haven't played, and that means I hope to play them and then possibly get them at that point. In general, when I don't get, my general thing in general, just so you know, is I get a lot of review copies, I back things on crowdfunding, but more often than not when it comes to retail games, I kind of want to really play it first. There's just so many games out there that I try to play it, meaning I'll happily buy something if I like it, but I do try to play it first, and some of these are games I have played. Well, 2 of these are games I've played, and let's go through them. These are 10 games at Gen Con that I wished I had came home with, and I did not. Starting with my number 1, which is Harmonies. I played Harmonies at Dice Tower East, and I loved Harmonies, and I definitely plan on picking up a copy at some point. Unfortunately, couldn't get a copy at Gen Con. There's also Rock Hard 1977. That's from Devere Games. That one I'm not sure it'll go. We'll see how it happens. I may get a review copy of that one. They do generally send me review copies. I've heard mostly positive, but not necessarily amazing things about it yet, so I'm still interested in it. Very unique game, very unique theme to it. Well, not totally unique. It's a musical theme, but usually that hasn't been done incredibly well, so I'm curious to see how this one is done. But I'm intrigued by Rock Hard 1977 and getting to play that one. We also have Middle Ages by I think Studio H. This is one that I definitely hope to play at some point. It does seem very much up my alley in terms of that mid-weight gameplay, very accessible tile laying. I can't remember if it was tile laying. I might be wrong. I think it was tile laying, I might be wrong, but it does look very mid-weight accessible to me. Looking forward to that one. This is Windmill Valley from Board and Dice. Windmill Valley, I've seen in general positive things. Think of theme, I know enjoyed it. They sold out at Gen Con. I wasn't even able to get to. I tried to go in there the last day at the Board and Dice booth to go hopefully demo it. I didn't get a chance to demo it or whatnot, but it does seem medium weight in a way that I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by Windmill Valley and hope to get that one played. Speaking of Board and Dice, Reef Project was another one I was hoping to play. Again, they sold out of that one, but Reef Project is another one that looks beautiful. This is one of the games I was most excited from my pre-Gen Con coverage, and in general, the reviews on it seem pretty solid so far. It seems to be a little lighter for a Board and Dice title, but nonetheless, again, I tend to like that medium weight class as far as games that are easier to table and get played. We have The Veil of Eternity. I've played this several times now. It's actually on Board Game Arena as well. This is one I played at oh my gosh, the Adam 2024. That was a general publisher press event. I had a chance to play this one. Jenna from the Board Game Garden taught it. I had a chance to play it online as well, and I had a chance to play it at Dice Tower East as well. So I've had a chance to play it a few times now, and I really like The Veil of Eternity. Again, Renegade Games sold out of that one, so I wasn't able to get a copy, but it's one that I do plan on picking up. We have Invincible, a hero building game. This is from Direwolf Games. The Invincible in general has been getting great reviews. It has a lot of fun things going on as far as there seems to be a real trade-off of letting people die or letting things go bad so that you can actually survive together. It is a cooperative game, but a cooperative game with supposedly hard choices that's meant to be both accessible and strategic and just fun. And I like the Invincible TV show, so I'm already primed to enjoy that. Although, again, IP games are always complicated. To me, an IP game kind of depends on the publisher. Some publishers I'm very much looking forward to the game and very excited about it, and other publishers a little less so. It really does depend on the publisher. Then we have Adulthood. Adulthood is one that I got to see a great demo of from Brotherwise Games. And Adulthood, it does look like it might be a little lighter than I want for a game long term. But it's one that I do definitely want to table and play. It goes through the nature of being an adult. So you've played games, or I don't know if you've played, you may have played games like this. I think the game that most comes to mind is The Pursuit of Happiness. I think it's what it's called, The Pursuit of Happiness. That's a game that kind of gave me the same vibes as Adulthood. But Adulthood looks incredibly charming. It looked very easy to play. A little bit of tableau building, a little bit of a journey through life. It is a game that I'm very excited to table. I do wonder if the weight class of it might make it so that I'm not interested in it long term, but for right now, I definitely want it. We have Ziggurat. Ziggurat's a new game from Rob Davio, and I think it was Matt Leacock, if I'm not mistaken, but it's a cooperative, I think it was cooperative, I double check, cooperative legacy game that the actual game did not look appealing to me. The actual game, like components, didn't pull me in, but the designers involved, the cooperative legacy game, I think it plays out across 6 arcs, 6 games, if I'm not mistaken. All of that definitely has me interested. I would love to table and play Ziggurat. Alas, I did not come home with it. And then lastly, a game that didn't even make its way to Gen Con, it was supposed to be at Gen Con to be clear, but it did not make its way to Gen Con, is Umbrella from Pandasaurus. It did not make its way. It was being shipped or whatnot, I don't know. It didn't show up, but while I did get a bunch of games from Pandasaurus that I did come home with, Umbrella was not in there, and Umbrella is one that I very much enjoyed, played at Dice Tower East as well. Dice Tower East seems to have been a bit of a, tease of the various games I was hoping to get at Gen Con. Oh my gosh, there's another one. We'll add an 11th to the list. I didn't come back with Comic Hunters. Another game I played at Dice Tower East I wanted to come back with, and they were sold out constantly. Every single day they were sold out in 2 seconds, and so no Comic Hunters, at least not right now. But then going back to Umbrella. Umbrella has excellent pattern matching, and I definitely want to get that one, but Pandasaurus did not have any copies available, which makes it very hard to come home with it. So another day, another time. But yeah, some of these games, again, the ones I've played already, games like Harmonies, games like Umbrella, games like The Veil of Eternity, those are all easily games I'm going to get one way or another. I've played them, I enjoy them, I want them, Comic Hunters as well, and the other ones will go into the category of some of them I'll get, some of them I'll have a chance to table at some point, some of them may get review copies, but all of them I do want to table and play at one point or another. Like specifically like Invincible, Reef Project, Windmill Valley, those are games that I do want to make sure I find the time to play them to see if they are games for me or not. In any case, we're going to go ahead and move on to the video of the week. The games I played. We forgot. We have category, the games I played. This is a quick recap of some of the games I've played. I played a bunch of games this past week, so we're just going to touch upon a few of them. But I'll start with one that definitely impressed me and surprised me, although I guess it is a tease to an upcoming video, is Captain Obvious. Captain Obvious from Lucky Duck Games is a game I was expecting nothing from. Like, genuinely. I was like, okay, this is a game I'll play and then get rid of. But I played it a lot and continue to play it, and I'm not getting rid of it. I really overall enjoy it. It's been very, very, very satisfying so far. Speaking of Veil of Eternity, which I talked about already, I've actually been playing Veil of Eternity as well. Veil of Eternity on BGA, I've been diving into it while I don't yet have a physical copy, and it's still satisfying. It's still quick to play, it still gives you a lot of powers and abilities, a lot of ways to synergize things in a very rewarding puzzle, and I'm really enjoying that so far. There's also going to be Terraforming Mars. Terraforming Mars is another game that I'm managing to table still, which is good, because it is one of my favorite games, and in general, actually, I just got the new stuff. We'll be doing an unboxing of some sort of video, I don't know, but I just got the new stuff. I backed the Kickstarter, and I got all the new maps, the new content, Prelude 2, so I am excited to dive into more of it, but for right now, still being able to play and table Terraforming Mars. And then lastly, I'll talk about one that's a little bit different. There's a Legend of the Five Rings. I don't remember the name of the game. It might have been Shadow Veil, maybe? I think Shadow Veil sounds right. But there's a lot of Legend of the Five Rings video game at Gen Con I had a chance to play. It's a roguelike game where you kind of build your units and upgrade your units, and has a lot of tactical positioning. So it's a little less Slay the Spire, but a little mixed in with like a little XCOM plus Slay the Spire together. I overall enjoyed it. I didn't have a chance to table it excessively. It's a video game, so play it, not table it. But it's one that I'm excited to see more and see where it lies for me, but I've definitely been enjoying that one as well. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into the videos of the week. Starting off with this past Saturday. This past Saturday, we had a Gnome Hollow gameplay. Basically going through myself, Meg, and AP playing through a game of Gnome Hollow on one of the advanced modes. Later on Saturday, we had this is sponsored gameplay. Later on Saturday, we had a Blueprints review, more specifically Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig review from Bezier Games. I overall enjoyed that one. I thought it was very satisfying. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I believe if I recall correctly, Meg gave it a 3.5. But a very solid roll and write game flip and write game, I guess, that you have you building castles, but in, I don't know, I like it better than the original Castles. Castles was always one I was okay with. I like Blueprints more. On Sunday we had games leaving the collection for the month of August. As usual, a bunch of games leaving. I forgot to do a tally at the end of where my games are since I've been tracking it, but I will do so in next month's video. I'll recap for the past 2 months. On Monday we had a late pledge video, this time from small to medium publishers, just going through 20 late pledges that you might still be able to get your hands on. I believe most are still available. Usually I'm like, anywhere between 18 to 19 of them are actually available, but that's the Monday's video, a late pledge roundup, because I was at Gen Con, so I did not get to do 2 back or not to back. On Tuesday we had a sponsored preview for the Cats of Mont Michel. I'm totally butchering the pronunciation. Leave me alone. Just go watch the video. Meg did a much better job of that there. But we have the preview for the Cats of The Cats game. That's what we had a preview for. Just going through that gameplay. It's built in the same system as their previous games, but with a much more appealing theme, as evidenced by the fact that the game is doing incredibly well, very, very well. You can check out the campaign for that. Later on Tuesday, we had a Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza roundup of Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, Moose Mask Mayhem, Wild Wild Taco, and Steal the Bacon. 4 small games from the same publisher from... Is it Dolphin Hat Games? Something like that. That's the name of the publisher. But 4 chaotic, crazy party games that my kids have all enjoyed. And speaking of which, my kids were in that video as we reviewed, well, some of my kids were in that video as we reviewed those games. Lastly, on Tuesday, we had a Sacred Valley review. This is a game from North Star Games, all about kind of, planting crops and trying to have the most money in there. If you were one of the first 600 people who watched the video, then you managed to get a glimpse of about a minute and a half of me awkwardly just being like, so the game is me. Basically, I had an editing blooper over there, and I forgot to edit it out properly, so the first 600 people who watched the video got to watch 90 seconds of me trying to collect my thoughts and then continue going, which is the kind of thing that usually does get edited out when I have those moments. But not today, so enjoy that, you 600 people. For the rest of you, I edited out post-fact, and now it's a normal video with a small cut that's not as clean as I would like. Anyways, on Wednesday we had a top 10 Cutthroat Games. This is a fun category of just a bunch of games that are incredibly cutthroat. I had a bunch of suggestions from the audience of ones that I didn't have in there for a variety of reasons. Sometimes my main criteria is I had to still enjoy the game. I had to feel it was cutthroat enough that is definitely some bite to it, but also not so cutthroat that is a meaner experience. Like some people talked about Lifeboats. That's not a game for friends. I'm sorry, Lifeboats is not a game for friends. But you check out the video, see which 10 cutthroat games while having edge and bite, mean cutthroat but not so mean, and then contribute your own thoughts as to which games you consider incredibly cutthroat. And some of you might enjoy the super, super mean ones. On Thursday we had a few videos going up. We had a review for Dominion Digital. I haven't been doing a lot of reviews of digital games. I might start adding them in when I play them a lot. I don't know if I'll do BGA, because BGA is just like, there'd be so many games. But honestly, BGA will get occasional top 10 lists. I'll do that. But I added a review of Dominion Digital, because I think Dominion Digital is amazing, and I think it's worth sharing, and you should know about it. They have the new expansion, The Rising Sun, dropping shortly, so you can check that out if you want to go ahead and get that added to your list. Past that, we had, that was the Thursday. Late on Thursday we had a review for Reality Shift. Reality Shift, I thought it was an okay game, unfortunately. Reality Shift is a 2.5 out of 5. The deluxe edition bumps it up to a 3 for me, but unfortunately too many issues. A very cool concept, but too many issues to really enjoy. And the last thing on Thursday, we had an Assassin's Creed Apocalypse unboxing. Possibly the shortest unboxing I've ever done. Possibly. There wasn't a lot to show, but I started the video and I was like, well, we got this far in the video. Let's go ahead and finish it up. It's 13 minutes of me talking about Assassin's Creed. Loosely, and then a few other things as well. On Friday we had a Gencon haul video. Meg and I go through the roughly 60-ish games that we came back with. If you haven't watched the video, there's a bunch of disclaimers in there as usual. Haul videos are fascinating. I might do a full video. Maybe this upcoming week I'll do a full video about the nature of hauls, like convention hauls, and whether you're a content creator or media, or whether you're just an individual person. I think hauls are very divisive. I think a lot of people enjoy seeing giant stacks of games, and a lot of people feel the envy or frustration, and a lot of people feel it's wasteful. I think I might do a full video on the nature of hauls, but until I do that video, there's a Gen Con haul video that went up Friday, just going through these 60 or so games that we came back with. In general, most of these are going to be review copies. Like a few things are bought, but most are going to be review copies. And in general, that is like, well, again, watch the video. You can go through it. But if you want to see a bunch of games that I'm excited to play, because almost anything I come back with is a game I have to be excited to play, or else I shouldn't have accepted it, because that's just a homework assignment that I wouldn't enjoy quite as much. Anyways, that was Friday, which means today. Today we have a few things. We're going to have a review for Monikers going up later today, as well as a Wild Gardens playthrough. I don't know the order of those two videos, but you can check those out. The Wild Gardens is going to be a solo playthrough, coming to you from Rose Gauntlet Entertainment. That is today's schedule. Next week we'll have a few things. I'm going to have 15 Gen Con games to be excited about, games that are like I've seen or played or know more about from Gen Con, and that I'm excited to talk about in some way, shape, or form whenever we have the opportunity to do so. So 15 Gen Con games to be excited about. We also have top 10 games I still love after playing it a ton. I don't know if that'll be the title, but that's the basic concept of the video. I had a viewer ask me, like, well, what games do you play a ton and still love? Specifically because I've talked about with games like Tenaris Adventures or with Gloomhaven, how playing it a ton has taken a little bit away from the experience for me. And somebody asked me in a video, well, what games have you played a ton and you still do love? And I have answers. They're in that video. And that brings us to the games on the table. Speaking of games, the games on the table. The games on the table. These are, as usual, all the games I hope to be playing this week, or at least some of them, as many as I possibly can. We have Gateway Island from Van Ryder Games, a delightful little game about just introducing game concepts and mechanics to players. So I want to table this one, see, like, I mean, I know most of the mechanics, but I want to see what they did with this. One of the things I really love is that in the rulebook, they have, like, once you go through the game, they're like, and if you liked worker placement, here's, like, 2 or 3 games to check out. I love that concept. I think it's clever, and I just want to see if it's actually any good. We have Spectacular over here. Is that what it's called? Spectacular from Chili Fox. Partially through the rules in this one. Looking forward to drafting my animals and feeding them, which is a weird thing to look forward to, but we do play board games, so there's that. There's Lorcana Gateway over here. This is a gateway intro to Lorcana. I have not been great at actually playing Lorcana with my daughter, as much as she's interested in the game and the art and all that. We actually haven't tabled it. They've gone through the cards, but they haven't actually played it, so I'm excited to play this gateway set of Lorcana. It's from Ravensburger, and what it does is it introduces the mechanics slowly, so it kind of sets you off and then rolls you into the universe, making it much more accessible, and it also comes with nicer tokens than the basic Lorcana. Although if you've watched some of the deluxification videos on the channel, you'll see that there's a variety of tokens out there as well. And then lastly, one that I'm very excited to table is Aeon's End Legacy. This I'm very excited to start playing because I want to dive back into the world of Aeon's End. It's a game I've played through. Oh my gosh, it's a complicated game. It's a complicated game. You see, there's Aeon's End and then there's Astronites, and I like the overall game of Astronites better, but I like the fixed markets of Aeon's End better than I like the rotating market in Astronites. And so I still have Astronites. I still have like the stuff on my shelf, but this is one that I want to dive back in. They apparently have a second Legacy game that I want to play as well, so I hope to table this and give it another try and see how it holds up. I wanna like build some spells and, to close some rifts and destroy some things and see if it is as good, better, or worse than it was the first time around. And that's what I have coming up for this week. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I appreciate you being here, and as always, I hope you have a good one.